So, Jonathan Masters here in Louisville, Kentucky, at Crossland Hotel. I am getting a lot of feedback actually on my. There is no such thing as mental illness. My only point with that, there are clinical cases, but the mental illness cases, I think a lot of people act crazy or feel like they're crazy because their oppressor is making them feel crazy or their inability to communicate with those that they love. 95% of the time, crazy behavior is because of the inability of people to communicate with those that they love. I've seen this in my own life. I've seen this with other people around me, neighbors, family, friends, acquaintances, just students, lots of people. They act crazy when they're not being heard, when they don't feel like they're being listened to. My neighbor back in Colorado, I remember this little kid was trying to get his mother's attention to get his shoes tied, put his shoes on, but he was trying to get a hold of his mother, couldn't get a hold of his mother, couldn't, he was saying, Mom, Mom, but she wasn't listening, and then eventually he was like, Mom! And then she heard, him. So this is a guerrilla alternative media. This is me talking to, I guess, myself or other people that actually want to go on. But I want to talk about Trump. Trump is going to be president here in about 5 days, and mostly 80% is going to be a bad thing. Trump's a piece of shit, and Trump's going to continue to be a piece of shit, and that son of a bitch should be impeached for war crimes. He's going to go after ISIS, let him do his thing, but as soon as an innocent civilian is murdered, as soon as he's bombing over state, like we're bombing 9 countries right now, now we're going to put this authoritarian fascist at the helm, give him unlimited war powers so he can expand the empire as far as he wants. He wants to pass out nuclear weapons to Japan and South Korea and Saudi Arabia. Everybody's talking about how Saudi Arabia doesn't treat the women right, so therefore the contributions, political contributions into the Clinton campaign, that makes her tainted, but somehow that doesn't make him tainted. Progressives have got to get more consistent on this guy. This guy is not a good fucking guy. He's an authoritarian. He's a statist, and we should be vigilant when it comes to this. If you're in Nazi Germany and Hitler got elected, how would you react? What would you do? This is the situation that we are confronted with, and you're gonna just go along. Oh, let's just see what he does. Why? Because you want a big, strong, authoritarian daddy and just do as he says. That's the face for America. He's not my president. It's not President Trump. It's just Trump. And, I will not like these next 4 years. I can guarantee you that. So I'm going to start off with the good things first, and then I'm going to get into the bad things, okay? So there's possible good progressive things, but they're only peppered here and there. So some of the good things he might do, he's going to kill the TPP. So the Trans-Pacific Partnership is for free trade. So therefore, it's going to be Obama's baby. He's going to have his own NAFTA. So he was all excited about it. So I think that's great. That's great. That's great that he's going to kill the TPP. This is, Hillary was for it. She said it was the gold standard and, lobbied for it so many times. But I don't think that it will go away completely. I think he'll renegotiate it, and then it'll just be the Trump Pacific Partnership instead of the Trans Pacific Partnership. He'll just put his own name on it. That'll be the difference, okay? It's not going to be the Trans Pacific Partnership. It's going to be the Trump. And it'll come back in another form. So, I am happy that he's going to kill the TPP, but I don't know what he's going to put in his place. This is also the same argument that I have with healthcare. So he's talked about universal Canadian style single payer healthcare before, and that's a good thing, right? For a progressive, that's a great thing. Just like he's also talked about legalizing all drugs in 1990. But for both of those issues during the campaign, he backed away from them. He is now talking about health savings accounts. Therefore, save your own money. That's the healthcare plan, right? If you die, fuck you. So it's not single payer. It's no healthcare. They're going to repeal Obamacare, and they're not going to put anything in its place. You think the Republicans are going to give us single payer healthcare? No, they're not even talking about it. So since he had appealed to his conservative base, he's just being completely fucking conservative. So he is saying, well, we didn't have healthcare before. Let's not have healthcare now. So I don't, like with TPP, I don't know if that'll be renegotiated into something better. With Obamacare, I have no hope that it's going to be renegotiated into something better. He just wants to repeal it because it's got Obama in the name, and that's it. When we need single payer universal health care, like every other fucking nation, the health of the people is important. Everybody, nobody should die or have to lose their home just because they had to go to the hospital. So, Ivanka's child care. She talked about child care, so that would be actually good if we could get universal child care. Again, I have a tepid mention of this, just like the health care. She mentions child care and they mention universal health care, but then they say it's savings accounts. So they're being very tricky with their wordings. And the Republicans have the Senate and the House. So even if Trump was wanting single payer health care or to get rid of the war on drugs, the other Republicans aren't. They're a bunch of fucking, right wing fascist statists who doesn't give a shit about the American people. The health. Health is life. If you don't care about our health, you don't care about our lives. And that's been the case for, my entire existence. So, veterans benefits. He's going to actually make sure that veterans get their benefits and can choose their own hospital, and that's a great thing. I think that's actually wonderful. So the veterans do deserve benefits. If we can afford to send them off to war, then we should be able to afford to take care of them. That's absolutely true. So that's good. Veterans will get better benefits. TPP is going to be killed. We might get some child care plans. Here's another good thing that he's actually proposed. He wants to put term limits on congressmen. That's the whole drain the swamp thing that Sean Hannity is talking about. So he wants to drain the swamp. He wants to put term limits on Congress. And that's a great idea. You have a lot of, career politicians who's been in there for 20, 30, 40 years. Mitch McConnell's been in there for 30 fucking years. And so what does term limits do? Well, since people get, once they get elected, they become established. And so it's hard for new blood to get into the system, especially if you're not Republican or Democrat. It's virtually impossible. But we need new blood in the system. We need new ideas. We need, fresh new ideas and for people to be able to move up into the ranks. And, George Washington, he stepped down after 8 years. So who the fuck is Mitch McConnell to stay in there for 30 years? Just because he's been in there forever. So he's got all this political clout. So he could say, well, I'm a powerful person. So how could you run against something like that unless you could say that you would be more powerful? So you would already have to be powerful to begin with. And so I think that's a great idea. He wants to introduce a constitutional amendment to have term limits on members of Congress. The problem with that, Congress isn't going to vote for that, but that's why it's a constitutional amendment, right? You have to get the states. You got to get the supermajority, 3/4 of the states to sign on with that. And I think it's a great idea. I think that's actually like some Andrew Jackson shit right there. That's actually bringing democracy to the people. It's not ranked choice voting, so it's not, true blue pure democracy, but it's a lot better. I'm in agreement with term limits on Congress, so I think that's one good idea. So ISIS, he's going to go after ISIS, right? He's going to bomb the shit out of them, their families and their children and their babies, and just, kill as many people that he determines a terrorist, since he is a war president that does give him unlimited amount of power. So going after ISIS is a good thing. But what next? So we're bombing 9 countries. We're an empire. He wants to renegotiate NATO. We're lining people up on the Russian border. So we're antagonizing, Russia. But I guess we're keeping that Iron Curtain, that wall, strong, because Russia is imperialist. They are expansionist, right? They went after Crimea and annexed it. So they are doing essentially what the U.S. is doing. So if we're the lone world power, then we do need to contain Russia. But that's a good thing to wipe out ISIS. He also promised that there'd be no new cuts to Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. He's going to repeal Obamacare without a replacement, so that's a bad thing. But not cutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are good things. Let's see if he actually keeps up with those things. Again, he's got a Republican Senate and a Republican Congress or a Republican House, and if they put up, let's cut Social Security, he would actually get away with it. Being a Republican, it's weird. The ones who spend the most in the deficits are the Republicans, and they're, the ones who actually save money are the Democrats. So tax and spend Republicans. But I guess the idea is because he's a conservative, if a conservative is sitting there saying, well, let's just say marijuana, he says that he's in favor of medical marijuana, which also makes me nervous when it comes to the war on drugs. He's got this task force. But anyways, hold on. If you go to the war on drugs, then because he says that medical should be legal but not recreation, he doesn't believe that we have a right to our own bodies. So he's, he's being a pussy. He's being a coward when it comes to these political issues. States have already legalized marijuana, but he can't even say that marijuana could be legal. So therefore, is anything else, is he going to be like his 1990 self? I don't think so. When you look at his platform, he's talking about getting a task force on violent crime, going after the gangs, and usually that's drug gangs. But the reason why there's drug gangs things is, Al Capone, it's illegal. It's prohibition. So prohibition actually increases the amount of money that you can make if you're willing to risk selling the drugs. So therefore, just simple supply and demand is basic economics. Okay, so those are the few good things. No cuts to Social Security, no cuts to Medicaid, no cuts to Medicare. He's going to kill ISIS, term limits on congressmen. He's going to introduce that constitutional amendment. Veterans are going to get benefits. Ivanka's child care plan might be good. And then he's going to kill the TPP. Okay, so those are the good things that I expect Donald to do. They're just few and far between, very, just peppered. So progressives seem like they're so desperate. They're like, oh, if he does progressive stuff, I'll give him credit. Well, has he said anything that would give you any indication that he's going to be, progressive whatsoever? In some respects, he seems very progressive, but in other respects, he seems extraordinarily regressive. And I would say he's mostly 80% regressive. So, and he, like I said, even he ran as a Republican, so therefore he's going to be a dick about abortion, women's rights, the bad things that a Donald Trump presidency is going to bring to America is unlimited. It just goes on and on and on. So I'll actually come back with that one. This will just be titled "The Good Things That Donald Might Do," but I don't expect much. Most of it's bad. 80% of Donald Trump is going to be a bad presidency. And that's good for Democrats. In 2 years, run for office, run against that piece of shit. He's an authoritarian. He doesn't really care about people. He doesn't have any moral core. He doesn't have the moral judgment to make the right decisions. He doesn't care about our health, which is our lives. He thinks the war on drugs should go on, which is not caring about our bodies. We lost the right to our own bodies. We're Americans. Americans need to start acting like Americans again and love freedom. But a lot of Americans are scared of freedom. They've been, taught by the public education to cower to authority and to bow down to their massa. Massa tells you to do this. You better do what massa says. So, coming up next will be the bad things. If I could turn it.